Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio. Ours is a place where dreams take flight, voices are heard, and stories are shared. This is where cultures meet, connections are formed, and ideas are transformed into action. This is your destination for authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations. We're where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover our world of education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our USA Global TV channel and download our USA Global TV app. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. With heartfelt thanks to our executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, music scored by Yifei Tang from Cloud Road Music, creative direction by Paul Garcia, and I'm Al Cini, and I'm very proud to be part of the USA Global TV and Radio family. So join us here at USA Global TV and Radio. Make us your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication, or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited. Thank you for being a part of our global community. Let's inspire together.
All right, everybody, welcome to You as a Whole, Body, Mind, and Soul. I'm Justin MIRIGLIANI, and we are on USA Global TV. And just want to welcome everybody, as we usually do, get together at this time on Mondays. So today's topic, I'll just get right into it, is they are the teachers. And what I'm talking about is, when I say they, the students that I've been teaching over the last several months. I started in September as a substitute teacher, and I've been in corporate America for a very long time, 25 years, more than that, actually. I'm sorry, closer to almost 30 years. And most of that time, the 25 years, I've had my own business. And I've talked about this ad nauseum, so I won't get into the whole thing, but business is pretty much not working out the way I wanted it to. And I'm kind of on a hiatus here, looking for another job, and I want to get back into corporate America as an employee instead of a business owner. And in the meantime, to make a little bit of money, I am a substitute teacher, and I've gotten a chance to get into classrooms and be with other kids, all kinds of ages, kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade, and it's really been fun for me. I know that I can't make it my career. I realize that. I do have a master's degree in education, but it's been so long I haven't taken the tests, and quite frankly, the salary that they would start me at now just would not work at age 51. You know, if I was in my 20s, it'd be a different story, but considerably older than that. But while I'm doing it, I am enjoying it, and I will miss it. I really will miss it, and especially the special needs students. That has been one of the most rewarding parts of doing this. All of the grades are fun. I mean, I really enjoy them. I love the high school kids. I let them call me by my first name, so that I really can kind of relate to them and enjoy that. But the special needs kids are really fun to work with, because even the ones that are nonverbal, you could tell that they're appreciative. They are just really good kids. And I've met some of the parents, and that also is something that it's really neat to see, because you wonder how parents feel when they have a child who is special needs. What goes through their mind? What do they worry about? What are the things that concern them the most? And I remember on the Halloween party, I was in the special ed class at Concord Elementary, where, quite frankly, is the place I'm most comfortable, because I know the kids now. I've gotten to know them really well, and it's been a lot of fun. But on the Halloween party, we had a parade, and we were going around, and I saw some of the parents, and I had some of the kids with me in the parade, and I shook hands with a lot of the parents, and we were talking just very quickly, and not long conversations, but we got a chance to I got a chance to see how they interact with their kids, and the kids are so lovable. They are so quick to give their parents a hug. They're so excited when they see their parents, and that's really cool to watch. But the other thing is they're really excited to see you if you're a teacher or you're a paraprofessional, where even if they see you every day, they're just excited. They're really, really happy that you're there. And um, when I walk into the school, especially the kids who know me, they'll give me a big hug, and that's pretty cool. You don't get that a whole lot in corporate America, but you do get that a lot when you're in the school and you're with kids like that. And that is rewarding. That really is. And it's amazing how dedicated the teachers are and how dedicated the paraprofessionals are. It's not an easy job, that's for sure. It really is difficult because it depends on the child, but there'll be children who get a little aggressive. That happens. I got punched in the eye probably a few months ago, probably October, and it was okay. Well, I didn't like it, but of course it's not a big deal. It was just a 5-year-old kid, but um, you know, I I've learned that you can talk to these kids even if they're nonverbal, just like you would talk to anybody else. I don't baby them. I tell them, great job, and you're really working hard. Things that every kid needs to hear, not just kids with special needs. And they've taught me that. They've taught me what I should be doing. I kind of take their lead a little bit and let them kind of dictate where we're going to go and what we're going to do. Now, of course, there are parameters that you have to follow. You have lesson plans that you have to follow, and there are certain protocols you have to follow. But I really kind of encourage them to do what they need to do or they want to do, as long as it's within reason. They recognize you right away. They are amazing at memory, and a lot of them are, again, nonverbal but amazing at memory, where they remember minute details. And we all know that happens, especially with autism. But until you see it, it really doesn't hit you until you actually are there in the middle of it. You can actually see it, and you say to yourself, wow, this is just extraordinary. There's one kid, and I'm not going to use any names, but there is one kid who really doesn't talk. And you wonder if he's even listening to you when you talk to him, and you're not sure. And yet, when he pulls out a book, he can read and he says the words out loud. And it's just amazing. He can read books that are well beyond his age. I think he's about 7 years old. And I believe he's autistic. I don't know for certain, but pulls out a book and he just reads the words and won't speak to you, but he'll say these words out loud. And I'll say to him, how do you know these words? How do you do this? And he never answers. But on some level, I think he knows that, I'm impressed by what he can do and what he's able to accomplish, even though he has difficulties. And it teaches me that even when I have difficulties, which I do, I'm technically a disabled American, being an ostomy patient. I have struggled my whole life with anxiety, depression, and OCD, which I've been phenomenal over the last several months. Going into 2026, I haven't felt better. I haven't felt this good in a very long time, probably almost back to college. Really excited about what's in front of me. But I look at these kids and I think to myself, boy, I was down in the dumps last year and I was not living my life to the fullest. And despite what these kids have to fight through, they do live their life to the fullest, or their lives to the fullest. All these kids, regardless of whether they're verbal, nonverbal, whether they have um, unable to use the bathroom on their own, whether they're wearing diapers. You put on a video for them to dance, and they dance right on the carpet, and they watch the video, and they get really excited, and you can see their faces light up. They get really, really excited, and that's neat to see. That's pretty cool, and it's something that I'm going to miss certainly when I'm back in corporate America, where I won't see that kind of enthusiasm. It's inevitable that as you get older, you start to lose that childlike feeling, that childlike enthusiasm that we all had when we were kids. In fact, my kids tell me as they're getting older, they wish they could go back. It's amazing. We spend our entire childhood wanting to get older, and we spend our entire adult life wishing we were younger, right? We always think to ourselves, man, I wish I was younger. I wish, I'm 51. I wish I was 30 again. I wish I was whatever, 10 again, just to be able to live those exciting moments. And my kids are getting up, now not old, but 19 and 14. And they look back and they say, wow, life was a little bit easier, a lot easier when I was only 8 or 9 or 10. It's the truth. Holidays aren't as exciting as they were before. No, they're not. Not when you become an adult. It's magic when you're a kid. And the one thing about these kids who have special needs, the sad part is they're not going to grow up to be able to do certain things. They're going to be limited in what they're able to do. That's just the way it is. And that's sad. And I'm sure it's difficult for the parents to understand, to know that. Not they understand it, but to know that and accept it had to be difficult, especially right off the bat. But here's the thing. They will not grow out of that excitement. They will not grow out of that believing in magic. They will not grow out of that childhood enthusiasm. And there's something to be said for that. There's something that you really look at and say, man, that's with all the limitations that they might have, and there are many. That's something that they don't even realize that is really great, is the fact that they'll always have that feeling of every day being an exciting day, and they wake up, and I'm not saying that they're always happy. There's sometimes that they're crying, or they want their mother or their father or whatever it might be, or they don't want to do a certain thing and they get very agitated and start throwing things around or yelling and screaming, or in my case, getting punched in the face. But at the same time, minutes later, they could be working on a puzzle and just enjoying it and playing with cars or blocks or whatever it is. They just have this innate ability to get the most out of the moment that they're in. And it's something that I think we lose as we get older. I know that I've lost it in the past. I feel like I have it back now. Certainly not to the level that a child would have it, but more than I ever have in my adult life. And that's exciting. That's exciting. The firsts are always the greatest ones, right? Your first love, that's the greatest one. Your first child is the most exciting because that makes you a parent for the first time. When you have multiple children, you love them the same. It's not that it's different, that the love is different, but the moment is different because it's not the first time. You're already a parent, so you're just becoming a parent to a second person. So the firsts, are always the ones that you look forward to. And in some ways, these kids have a lot of firsts. Every day is another first. They learn something new. They do something new. They're just excited, and that is something that really we should all take away from that. Now, my brother has been working with kids with special needs for a really long time. He's a principal of a school in California, and his kids range in age from probably 5 or 6 years old up to, I believe, 21 or 22 is when they're no longer in the school. So he teaches these young people how to interact with other people, how to potentially get a job, potentially, if they're able to work on or live on their own and be able to be self-sufficient where they don't need constant care, or maybe they can be self-sufficient for a few hours a day and not need somebody to do everything for them. It's a range. It's a range, but he's able to do that. And he's done amazing work in California. He's implemented new technologies and implemented some really amazing programs that these kids are able to be involved in. You never would get the satisfaction of that in the corporate world. I mean, I'm not saying that the corporate world is bad, and I'm not saying that it's terrible to be in an office or work remotely and work with corporations around the world. But the fact of the matter is, you're not going to get the same satisfaction that you would with young children, at least in my opinion. Maybe other people feel differently, and that's okay. That's fine. Another thing that I've learned is how to be more sensitive, and I really I don't get offended easy. It's very difficult to offend me. I get angry. Um, and I'm much better with that than I have been in the past. I'm able to control my anger a little bit more. But one thing that I got angry about last week was a derogatory term that was used against people who happen to be liberal. And I'm not saying that this is I'm liberal or conservative. I'm not going in that direction. But whether you are liberal or conservative, um, using certain terminology can really be offensive, especially to parents. And it was directed towards liberals. I'm not going to use the term, but it's a term that was used in the past for people with Down syndrome. Now they're using lib and that part of that word. So I really want to stay away from using it. But I told people, look, if you want to use that, use a derogatory term, and you want to call people names, that's your prerogative. It's ridiculous, but it's what you do. If that do you right, if that's what you want to do. But can you stay clear of that term? Can you step away from that one? Come up with something else. It can be anything else. If you want to be offensive in another way, but don't be offensive to young kids or to parents of these young kids who see and hear that. And I'm sure some of them let it roll off their back and others don't. Others are not able to let it roll off their back. It's not a matter of being weak or being woke or being anything else. Oh, this is terrible. Don't be politically correct. No, don't be insensitive. That's all we're saying. That's all I'm saying is think about what you're saying before you say it or what you write before you write it. Even if you're angry at somebody else, it doesn't give you the right to say something that's going to be hurtful, nasty, cause them to feel pain. Why would you do that? No matter what side of any aisle that you're on, you don't want to do that. And I'm sure it's hurtful for parents of kids who have special needs, whether they have Down syndrome, autism, anything else, Asperger's, all the other anybody on the spectrum, neurodivergent children. I have family members who have children who are neurodivergent, and it's tough. It's not easy. It's a 24-hour a day job. You have to worry about everything. You have to worry about um, whether they're going to run away. You have to make sure the doors are locked. You got to make sure that they don't, when you're out with them, that they don't get lost. And if they get lost, it could be very, very dangerous. Where they wind up, who winds up picking them up. You got to worry about people in the area, who's around, who might take advantage of a child with special needs. What other dangers are there? Animals. They may not realize it, that animals can be dangerous. They may go to pet a dog that might bite. They may go into the woods. They may go near water. All these different things. So when people use derogatory language that really insults those children and those parents, it really is not necessary. You really don't need to do it. You could be offensive if you want to, but stay away from that. There's certain things that now look, I'm not giving you the green light to be offensive. I'm just saying if you're going to be offensive, you can go another route. You can be nasty and not offend children. I think children should be hands off. And maybe I wasn't sensitive enough to that before I started teaching kids with special needs. Maybe I would never use that language or say those things, but maybe it wouldn't have bothered me as much as it did this time. This time it really annoyed me. And I made it known. I wasn't nasty about it. I wasn't angry. I didn't challenge anybody to a fight or anything stupid like that. But I just said, think about what you're saying. And some people disagreed with me and said it's not a big deal. Okay, well, if that's the way you feel, that's the way you feel, but it is a big deal. You're not correct, and sometimes we got to say when things are wrong and just call them for what they are, wrong. And it's wrong to use kids with special needs as an insult to other people. Plain and simple. I really don't think there's any ambiguity here. I really don't see how anybody could disagree with that. And there were people who disagreed with that, which is a head scratcher. But let's get back to the positive. These children can give you such insight into what it is to be human. They have an ability to see through any kind of obstacles. They look at you as, I'll give you an example. One kid was crying and he was all upset, and he's nonverbal. He's got a board where he could type and say things, and I forget what was going on, but he was really really upset, and I said, "Hey, come on, what's going on? Tell me what you need. What's happening?" And he wouldn't tell me for a little while, for probably about 30 seconds. I said, "Come on." I said, "Just tell me what's going on. Why are you crying? What can I do to help you?" And then he just jumped up in my arms and he sat on my lap and he just wanted to stay there. That's it. That's all he did, was just sat on my lap. And all of a sudden he stopped crying and he just sat there and he put his head on my chest and we just sat there. And I said, "Okay, if that's what you need, if that's what is going to help you feel better, it's fine." And we just sat there, and I didn't tell him, "Well, you got to do your work, or you have to, um, you know, uh, you can't sit here," or no. I just let him stay and just be relaxed, and we took it from there. Um, that's that's a gift from those kids. It really is. It's something that they give you, unconditional love, because they know that you're there to help them. Does it get frustrating if you're there every day? And I'm not there every day. I'm not in special ed every day. So yeah, I'm sure for the teachers and the paras who are there day in and day out, it could get rough. It's not easy. And these people are not paid enough. They're really not. It's a much harder job than people think. People think, well, you just go to this classroom and all you do is just tell these kids to draw or play with toys or play with puzzles, or you read them a book or you play them a video and that's it. Day's done. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. I was in the library with kids, I was the teacher, the sub, and we had the paraprofessionals there, and they have what they call a runner. And a runner is a kid who runs away and tries to get out of school, tries to run out the door. And I remember following this kid all over the place. And then she made a run for it. She went right for the door and she was going real quick. And she was fast. And I had to run. I had a bolt for the door. And I got there and I just slid in front of her. And she ran right into me. And I just scooped her up and just turned her back around and brought her there. And, I'm not trained in restraint. So I did it very softly. It was necessary. It wasn't something that I could avoid. I try not to touch the kids in any way because of the environment that we live in right now. Um, and I get it. I get it. There are people out there that are despicable, to do things to children that are just beyond belief. And I get why there are certain rules in place. But at the same time, if a kid's going to be injured or possibly leave the school, I'd rather lose the gig than allow that to happen, or allow this kid to sit in my lap because he needs to at that time. Or you're not allowed to, again, restrain, but scooping that girl up in my arms and just turning her around. I mean, the alternative was to let her run out of the school. I'm not going to do that. That's just not going to happen. Um, you know, there's another part of this that I learned is that you don't have to fix every kid's issues. You can let them figure it out for themselves. I For most people, not just people with special needs, but for most people, want to jump in and help. That's just my nature. That I want to, if I see somebody struggling, I want to jump in and help. I don't know how that happened. I don't know why that happened. And maybe it was an insecurity. I talk to my therapist about this sometimes. Maybe it's an insecurity that I have, that I feel like I need to be needed. I don't know. I don't know. And I'm working on that. I'm trying to figure it out. But in any case, I've learned how to back off a little bit, where if these children are struggling, I don't look at them as special needs kids. I look at them as just a human being who's struggling and let them try to take care of it themselves. So if they're putting a puzzle piece in wrong and they're putting it in the wrong spot, my instinct is to jump up and put it in the right spot and say, here, it goes here. And I have to kind of cut that back and say to myself, listen, it let them figure it out. Because I'm not doing them any favors by doing it for them. It is necessary for them to become self-reliant as much as possible. And in order to do that, they have to be allowed to do that, allowed to make mistakes, be allowed to struggle. Not everything has got to be fixed right away. And I've written a book, and it's just with life circumstances not being able to get it out. But I wrote a book about my own struggles with mental illness and also with ulcerative colitis, being chronically ill, and then having the ostomy surgery. And life circumstances have not allowed me to get that book out, but it's all edited and ready to go. And I just have to take photos for it and that type of thing. But one of the chapters I write about is the Fonzie syndrome. I know I have a cold, so I'll repeat that. Fonzie, the character from Happy Days. And what I call the Fonzie syndrome is kind of what I've already explained. A need to be the knight in shining armor, the hero, as much as possible. For those who remember Happy Days, and it's funny because my therapist is probably in her early 30s. So when I mentioned the Fonzie syndrome to her, she had no idea what I was talking about. She said, "Who's Fonzie?" I thought, wow, I am getting old. At 51, I remember the 70s and 80s. So I remember Fonzie, and it was a great character on Happy Days, for those who remember the show Happy Days. But the character Fonzie was always there to save the day, no matter what it was. Whether it was somebody being beaten up, Fonzie would come and take care of that. Or I remember episodes where somebody was taking advantage of a girl and Fonzie stepped in and saved the girl. Or an episode where there was a fire in the Arnold's, which was a diner, I guess, or a restaurant. And Fonzie saved the day there too. He kept everybody calm. He was always stepping in. When somebody needed something, whether, airplane tickets, Fonzie came through and had the airplane tickets. And I'm just remembering episodes as I'm talking to you. And that's a TV show. That's not real life. And I looked at that character as I grew up and wanted to be that character as much as possible. I wanted to be Fonzie. And that's what I call the Fonzie syndrome. A lot of people have it. I'm not the only person who has it. You have to learn that is a TV show, and that is a character on a TV show, and it's not real. And as much as you want to be the hero for anyone, but especially kids who have special needs, that's something that you have to curtail. And you have to say to yourself, look, I can't fix everything. Would I like to be able to? Sure. Anybody would. But there are certain things that are out of my control. And I've learned to accept it. I've learned to accept it. Because if I don't, I'm just going to be miserable. And that's what these kids are able to accept. They have limitations and I'm sure they know it. I'm sure they know it on some level. But yet, they just go on with their life and they do fun things. They're excited about the holidays when the holidays were coming, and even with them being just passed, they were talking about things that ones who are verbal were talking about Santa Claus and gifts that they got and things like that. And, some of the kids that are just struggling with comprehension and things like that who are not necessarily special needs, but they are pulled out of class sometimes to have special math classes or special reading classes. They're just incredible kids. I mean, they're really a lot of fun. And I had one kid, and again, I'm not going to use any names, but I would say things like, um, we were counting to 10. We were using 10 as the base 10. And I would say, well, if we have five of these and five of these, what do we have? Then five red blocks and five green blocks, because he wanted to do Christmas colors. So I said, all right, let's do Christmas colors. So he did red blocks and green blocks, five and five. He said, how many do we have? He said, obviously 10. Like, I didn't know, like, how could you not know that? You're a teacher. How could you not possibly know that 5 plus 5 is 10? I loved it. I thought that was great. I didn't, it was awesome. So then we were kind of changing things. I said, well, what if we only had uh, four of these, but we had six of these? That 10? He goes, obviously that's 10. 6 plus 4 is 10. It's still 10. And then we kind of kept going with it, moving around, 7 and 3 and 9 and 1, and and every time we did it, he kept saying, obviously it's 10, and I thought that was great. I thought that was great. And he couldn't wait to write it down. He couldn't wait to put it in his on his paper, on his worksheet. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, are there frustrations when you have kids that won't listen, that are not on the spectrum but have some learning disabilities? Yeah, it's tough. I mean, if they're not going to do their work, and I hate to say this because it does sound sexist, but boys are tougher than girls. It's true. It really is true. It's not a slight against boys. I just think it's the way that we develop. But you see it. The boys are much rougher. I don't have to say to the girls a lot, stop wrestling. Do I have to say it to the boys? Yeah, a lot. Don't don't touch him. Don't push him. Don't shove. No wrestling. No fighting. No throwing. That's another thing that happens a lot with the boys is they throw stuff. I don't get angry. I get frustrated, but I don't get angry. And there is a difference. And I try as best I can to appeal to their wanting something. So, hey, look, if you do this, we have extra time. At the end of the day, we'll do whatever. We'll have extra playtime, or I'll talk to your teacher and tell them that you should get a special treat for what you've done, because you've done good work. And I'm not saying it works 100% of the time. It doesn't, but it works a lot of the time. And when you reward one child, other children want to be rewarded as well. And that's a good thing. That's really good. Um, I like the fact that other students who are not special needs students take care of some of the special needs students. I see it at lunch. I didn't know what to expect as far as how the kids who are not special needs, kids who are not on the spectrum, how they would respond to kids who are, especially kids who are nonverbal. I had never seen that interaction before, really, in personally up close. And it's really cool to see how these kids take care of these other kids. They open packages for them that they can't open, or they help them get a fork or a spoon, or they help them clean up if they spill something. Somebody is teaching these kids right. There are parents out there that are teaching their kids the right thing to do. And I hope that continues as they get older. I hope that's something that continues as they grow and they get into the upper grades and in high school. Again, I don't like to go too negative, but my daughter was telling me that there are kids that, in high school, that are now graduates in college, freshman year in college, and they still do the same stuff that they did in high school, like videotape a kid who is on the spectrum, who's just dancing and trying to have a good time, mocking the kid. Why? Why? And then you see a young kid, fourth grade, third grade, whatever, and they see a kid who is on the spectrum and they want to take their instinct is to take care of them. Their instinct is, I want to help this kid. I want to be there and do what I can. I'm not going to make fun of them. So where does that go off the rails? I don't know. Is it something that we need to teach better as parents? Is it something, because my kids never did that. My kids never did that. And I got to be honest, I wasn't a big punisher. I was more of a lesson teacher, talk to the kids, um, explain to them why what they're doing is not right or why they shouldn't be doing what they're doing. I never spanked. I don't believe in spanking. I don't believe in corporal punishment. Um, and my wife didn't either as we raised the kids. Um, but there would be extreme consequences for any kind of behavior that would be bullying, mocking, doing anything that was just wrong to a person with special needs. That would be one thing that would require for in my the way I think. I'll say it that way. The way I think, the way I feel, that would be a line, if crossed, would have some severe consequences. And when I say that, I don't mean physically severe consequences. I mean things like, a long grounding or, have not to be punished, but maybe if I had a child who was making fun of the kids like that and videotape them, I would tell them, look, you're gonna have to go work in the school or in a daycare or whatever for kids with special needs or whatever they would have to do as far as learning more about it and saying, hey, look, you need a lesson learned here. You're going to get up every Saturday now at 6 o'clock in the morning and you're going to go help in a place where special needs children are or even adults. And I, that's one thing that just has always driven me crazy. But now, especially after learning more about these kids, they've given me a better insight into how they should be treated, and there is no excuse for using them as a way to crack jokes or a way to try to become more popular, and that's really what it is in high school. As we're ending up the show, I remember probably a couple years ago there was a kid who uh, had another kid eat food off the floor, a special needs kid, and he laughed and he was joking around with the other kids about that. And he might have been on the soccer team or whatever team, baseball team, whatever. I gotta be honest with you, if I was the coach of the team, he'd be off the team. That would be it. That would be the end of his season. Say, come back next year, and if you're more mature next year, you could play. But this year, I don't want you on the team. Sounds harsh, but I think that's what is needed. I don't think that these things can be overlooked or a slap on the wrist. I think they have to be dealt with in the right way. And the right way is taking something away from them and not allowing them to do that again. And look, if you're gonna do that again next year, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to kick you off the team. You're not going to be a part of it. We got to teach kids that they have room to make mistakes, but there are certain mistakes that should never be made. Drinking and driving, that's not something that you have to do on your own to learn that it's bad. We all know that it's bad. We all know that it's wrong. Making fun of special needs children, we all know it's wrong. You don't need to do it to find out, oh, you know what, that was a mistake. That's not the case. So I'm excited for the future because I think that a lot of these young kids right now are learning that people on the spectrum, kids on the spectrum, are normal kids. They just happen to have a disability. That's all. So they're learning how to integrate themselves with those kids. And maybe, just maybe, when they get into high school, they're not going to be the ones making fun. They'll be the ones that'll help them carry their books. They'll be the ones that help them find the bus. They'll be the ones that help them open their locker. That's what I'm hoping for. And I think that's going to happen. So if you're a parent out there, teach your kids. That's the right way to do it. All right. I want to thank everybody for watching today. We're going to be back next week with another topic. Don't have it yet, but we'll come up with one. And I want to thank Megan for her hard work behind the scenes producing. So everybody have a great week. I'll see you next week right back here.
What if one simple skill could change the way you connect with the world? What if listening could open doors to deeper relationships, stronger businesses, and a better you? Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the Listening Mentor, brings you USA Global TV and Radio, a space where voices are heard, ideas are shared, and global communities thrive. Through the elevated listeners' courses and books, you'll master the power of listening, set boundaries with confidence, and transform conversations into opportunities. Join us. Listen, learn, elevate. Whether you're a leader, a coach, a business owner, or someone seeking stronger connections, your journey starts today. Subscribe, learn, and transform today.
Ever dreamed of hosting your own TV show, sharing your story with a global audience? Now's your chance to shine. At USA Global TV and Radio, we make it easy for you to create, host, and broadcast your very own TV show. Whether you're a storyteller, entrepreneur, or industry expert, we help you bring your vision to life. With our exclusive interview, live streaming, and podcasting training, you'll gain the skills and confidence to captivate your audience. Our global platform ensures your voice is heard worldwide. Join our community of creators who are already making an impact, one show at a time. Step into the spotlight. Host your own TV show on USA Global TV and Radio. Book your discovery call today at usaglobaltv.com. Copyright 2025 USA Global TV and Radio. All rights reserved. Terms and conditions apply. To learn more, visit usaglobaltv.com. Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honored to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA-Global-TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dyes. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.